You're listening to PD for the Soul, the podcast that centers the person behind the teacher badge and helps us align our practice with purpose. I'm so glad you're here. July is all about action. This month, we're digging deep into what it means to design lessons for the students who need us most, and that's all of them. We're not just talking about good teaching. We're talking about intentional, equity-centered teaching that prioritizes students on the margins, creates strong foundations, and supports diverse learners every step of the way. Here's what's coming up. In our first solo episode, I'm asking a question that should be at the heart of every plan. Who are my lessons designed for? Because if we're not careful, our default becomes the center, and our most vulnerable learners get left behind. Then I sat down with Leroy Smith for a powerful conversation on teaching students with disabilities, not as an afterthought, but as a starting point for instructional excellence. After that, we talked with Tara McCormick about how primary and middle school experiences shape high school success. This episode is all about creating a strong foundation early, academically and emotionally, because the reality is, although we're teaching them this year, it's not just our year that matters. And finally, we closed the month with one of the most important conversations of the season, a solo episode titled "The Margins Are the Map," where I challenge us to redefine what rigor really means and whose brilliance we're centering in our math classrooms. Each episode this month pairs beautifully with the digital listening companion, which you can grab right now using the link in the show notes. It's filled with reflection prompts, space to capture your takeaways, and planning questions to help you turn insight into implementation. And one more thing. Starting August 1st, my birthday, this podcast will officially become the Make Math Happen podcast. Same soul, same purpose, but with a name that reflects the clarity, urgency, and action this work deserves. Because we're not just here to learn. We're here to make math happen for every single student. So let's get into it. It's time to move with intention, lead with clarity, and teach like it matters, because it does. See you in the show. Hey there, educator. Let me start today's episode with a question, and I want you to really sit with it. Who are your lessons designed for? I want you to take some time to pause, reflect. Don't rush past this. Who are you thinking about? Who do you have in mind when you plan your instruction? When you select your examples, pace your lesson, or decide how much time to spend on review, who are you planning for? What face do you see? What do you feel when you hear the question I just asked? Is it clarity? Is it discomfort? Guilt? Motivation? I ask because I want one thing to be crystal clear this month. When we design lessons for the margins, we reach everybody. So let's visualize this. Imagine you're standing in the center of a circle. If you extend your arms and intentionally reach for the margins, what are you touching? You're reaching the edge, the farthest point from the center. But what happens in this process? You're going to move through, you're going to impact all the spaces that are in between. That's what equitable instruction does. It doesn't water things down, it deepens the reach, and in that reach, everybody benefits. So what does it actually look like to reach? And I really want this example, this visual that I'm creating to hit home for you. We've all seen circles before. So I want you to think about your classroom and who is usually in mind. And maybe you don't have anybody in mind. Maybe you're just creating a lesson because you really don't know anything else to do. Maybe you're just using the curriculum that was given to you exactly as it was given to you because you don't know what else to do. And if that is the case, okay, I get it. Because at some point, all of us are new to the game and we're figuring things out. But I want you to think about, who should I be thinking about? Who should I be planning this lesson for? Now, the reality is you're planning your lessons for everybody. But I want you to think about, if I plan my lesson for the students at the margin. And when I say margin, I'm talking about the students that come to you with several years of unfinished learning. The students who come to you with those projections that are in the ground, the students that come to you not liking math, not wanting to do math, not wanting to listen to what you're saying. And I'm not saying that you are going to all of a sudden take all of your lesson and focus on those students. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is when you intentionally think about that student and how you have to put those supports in place to make sure that they're getting what they need, guess who else gets what they need? Everybody else. But on the flip side, if I'm only planning for the student that came to me on grade level, those are the only students that have the potential to get it, because they still might not get it, because even when we plan for things, it doesn't always go the way that we anticipate, right? So there still might be a chance that we may not reach the students who we have in mind. But I'm going to tell you, if that intentional planning is in place and you're focused on making sure that even the students who came to you not understanding some of those prerequisite skills are able to access the activity because you're supporting them, you're reviewing some of those prerequisite skills, I'm telling you, everybody in between is going to get what they need. So let's break it down. Okay, let's break it down. What does it actually look like to reach? Okay, so again, you're visualizing that circle, you're standing in the center, you're reaching those arms out, and you're reaching for the circle's edge. I want you to keep that visual in mind for the remainder of this episode. Okay, so what does it look like? It looks like I am designing a flawless link between what students already know and what they're about to learn. So then let's break that down even more. I just told you that some of your students are going to come to you with unfinished learning, right? So that means you're going to have some way of determining what it is that they already know. That's where your pre-assessments come in. Okay, that's where you are assessing their readiness for the content that you're about to cover. And when you determine what they know and don't know, that's how you know how I'm going to set this lesson up so that I can maximize the success. Okay, my focus is top tier 1 instruction. If you provide high quality instruction the first time, where you're thinking about those kids on the margin the first time, we may not have to do all of that intervention, acceleration stuff, right? And when I say acceleration, I mean where we're taking, people are using a different term to say that we're intervening or we're remediating, okay? We may not have to do all of it. There's a lot of teachers who are planning just for intervention in the small group time. Now, I love me a good small group. I'm a small group supporter. But small group is not going to fix what didn't happen in your whole group. Okay? If you're not teaching well in your whole group, you're just starting all the way over, starting from scratch in your small group. So again, that first bullet is, I am designing a flawless link between what students already know and what they're about to learn. So you need to know what they know. Okay? That's number one. What else does it look like? It looks like identifying that prior knowledge needed to access the new concept and planning intentionally for how you'll activate it. Whenever I was in the classroom, I like to start my lessons with recalling what we did the previous day. I'm drawing students' attentions to the anchor charts that are on my walls. I'm drawing their attention to the notes that should be in their notebooks because I need for you to not forget. Okay, we realize, and we can't even just say it's students. Okay, it's not just kids today have short attention spans or kids today have short memories. Human beings, if you present them with something and they never see it again, the average person is probably not going to remember it, right? So we are constantly building that cycle of them accessing that. And when it comes to the prior knowledge, they need it because if it's the beginning of the year, they've had a whole summer. If it's Monday, they've had the weekend. If it's the week after Thanksgiving, they've had Thanksgiving break. If it is January after Christmas break, they've had at least 2 weeks. So we need to be identifying what is the prior knowledge that students have experienced, and then how am I going to activate it so that they can use it, leverage it, and be successful in what it is that we're going to be doing today. Number 3, we got to anticipate those student responses, not just the correct ones, but the misconceptions too, so that you're ready to respond, not just react. And I actually want to correct my language. I said misconceptions, but it's actually conceptions. It's actually the ideas that students have formulated based on their experiences, right? So that's just what they know. I can't say that it is a misconception per se, because that's what they know right now. I do need to understand what they know, taking us right back to bullet number 1, so that I can then do some clarifying. I can advance them. I can stretch that. But I can't really say that it's a misconception if this is what they know based off what they were taught. Maybe the teacher before them had a misconception. And I'm not blaming teachers. I'm just saying that sometimes we're looking at students and what they're doing as a negative, as a deficit, as something that needs to change. And there are a lot of things that students do that do need to change. But some things we need to tweak and change too. So I want to put that at the forefront as well. So again, we want to make sure that we're ready to respond to those things and not just react. Okay, we want to be prepared. If we know that students could take this direction, let's be prepared for that. Okay, and we can address that on the front end so that we can prevent that from happening. Okay, so now the next look for is creating exemplars so you have a clear vision of what success looks like and you can guide students there with confidence. All too often, I've been in planning sessions where we are not doing the math. We're not doing the math. We're not thinking about, how this should look. Therefore, whenever we get in class and it's in the midst of instruction and we're walking around, you have all of these pages that look completely different. And I know some people are like, well, we don't have to have notes per se, or students are going to learn and inscribe their thinking in different ways. That is true. That is very true. However, I think that we should still have an example in our planning notebook, however you plan, that says, when it looks like this, I know that the student understands what I have just taught. If it does not look like this, then there are some adjustments that need to be made. We need to have a clear vision of what the success looks like. And the student needs to know that we have a clear vision. We have to hold them to a high level of expectation, because sometimes when we say, oh, students thinking or people's thinking could look any kind of way, that doesn't mean X, Y, and Z. Sometimes we're just giving people excuses to just be unorganized. Okay? And I'm just going to tell you, when you go to somebody's house and there's things everywhere, and they're like, but I know where everything is. Okay, but what is the process for you finding whatever it may be that you're looking for? What is the process? How long does it take? And then if you have somewhere to be, how long does it take you to get out the door? Because now you have to sift through all of this stuff. But if you're organized, like seriously organized, things just happen a lot more fluidly, a lot more flexibly. Things just happen in a way that is more productive. Okay. The next point, the next look for, okay, when we're talking about what it looks like to reach the students at the margin, is planning the questions in advance. Plan the questions that you're going to use to assess student learning. Plan the questions that you're going to use to advance their learning, and clarify. Questions that build thinking, not just recall, because when we're going around the room and we're supporting students, we should be asking questions, not giving answers, not saying, no, don't do that. That's wrong. Okay, tell me about your thinking here. What made you do this? Okay, so now connecting it to what we talked about earlier in the class and looking at our anchor chart, tell me how what you've done aligns with this. We should be prompting students to talk about what it is that they're doing, okay? Because that conversation now takes it from being a mental thing with them, where it's just a conversation with them and themselves, to now, okay, now I have to verbalize this. I have to articulate this. That's an extra layer of processing there that we really need students to get in the habit of doing. Okay, now my final bullet, that's really not a final bullet. This is not an exhaustive list. These are the things that just came top to mind to me when I was thinking about who are our lessons designed for. Making intentional teacher moves. Okay, so this is what it looks like when we are reaching from that center. Remember, I told you to continue to visualize yourself standing at that circle center with your arms outstretched, reaching the circle's edge. There should be some intentional teacher moves that can be observed. Okay, that can be planned for, that can be noted. Like when you position yourself, where are you at in the room? How you scan the room, how you structure your circulation around the room, not just seated at your desk, not just at the smart board or the whiteboard, not just on the corner with the students that you actually like. Circulation. You're seen looking by the students, by your peers. If you record it yourself, you're seeing yourself looking. You're placing students who move quickly through tasks early in your loop, so you can push them further. Then using the remaining time to support those who need more of you. Those are intentional moves that can be seen when we're standing at that circle center and we're reaching our hands out to the margin. You're making the physical space serve the instructional purpose. Everybody gets what they need because you, teacher friend, know they don't all need the same thing. You're being purposeful. You're being intentional. But here's something that grounds all of this. I need for you to understand that learning is a change in long-term memory. It's not just about what students do in the moment. It's about what they retain, recall, and transfer into new contexts. That means learning requires consolidation, time to connect new ideas to existing ones. Learning demands transfer, opportunities to apply knowledge in unfamiliar situations. And learning thrives on precision, clear goals, clear pathways, and meaningful feedback. If your goal is to help students learn the math, not just do it, then your planning has to be methodical. You have to slow down to speed up. You have to get out of autopilot. Because if you truly want to stand in the center and reach everything in your radius, the plan can't be generic. It can't just be the file that you downloaded from your district. It can't just be the file that you downloaded from the curriculum. It has to be intentional. It has to be thought out based on the kids who are in your classroom. Okay? This month on the podcast, we'll keep pushing this kind of intentionality forward. We're going to be talking to Leroy Smith about supporting students with disabilities, Tara McCormick about how to build strong foundations early, and we're going to close with an episode that reframes everything by arguing that margins are the map. You can grab the Season 2 Listening Companion Journal using the link in the show notes. Use it to capture your reflections, sketch your ideas, and plan with purpose. And don't forget, y'all, starting on my birthday, August 1st, this podcast becomes the Make the Math Happen podcast. New name, same mission, just a louder reminder to act on behalf of your students. Until next time, ask yourself again, who are my lessons designed for? And what might change for them, the students, and for you if the answer was the students at the edge? I'll see you next week.